Welcome to
Hello and welcome. I'm Nick from Top Notch Sports and Tam. We'll be going over my 2021 NFL running back scouting analysis. Now, there's a lot of names I'm going to go through, 19 names. So sit back, relax, let me go through them and explain to you exactly what I saw when I studied them in the film room. Listen, there's a lot to cover. I'm going to answer a few of your questions at the end. So let's hop right into the PowerPoint right now, and I'm going to present it to you right now. All right, so here we go. Here's my 2021 running back prospects. We're going to hop right into it right now. So here's my track record. Again, I want to let you guys know this right away. My running back track record is nothing like my quarterback track record. Let's start all the way back at 2017. As you can see, I have a few hits. I have a few misses. 2017, I ranked the top 4 running backs. Here they were. Number 1, I had Leonard Fournette. Number 2, I had Dalvin Cook. Number 3, I had Christian McCaffrey. And number 4, I had Joe Mixon. Leonard Fournette was my for-sure number 1. I love this guy coming out of college. He could break tackles. He could do a little bit of finesse moves, right, with the nice spin move. He looked special, but again, injury plague in the NFL and his time in Jacksonville no longer being there definitely hurts him. So let's see if he can revive his career somewhere else. Then you go down to Dalvin Cook. I had him ranked as number 2. Right now, we can probably make an argument for 2 or 1, depending on him or McCaffrey. But Dalvin Cook, I love this kid coming out of college. I know that there was a few off-field issue concerns with him coming out, but I was a big fan of Dalvin Cook at 2. Chris McCaffrey, I had him at 3 because at the time, he was a really good receiving back, and that's what I noted him down for. I didn't really look at the explosiveness he had in his run game. I didn't know if he could ever really turn out to be that workhorse. Well, we saw in Carolina 2 years ago that he can be. Now, can he keep a workload like that? We'll have to wait and see. And last but not least, it was Joe Mixon. He was my number 4. This by far was probably the best running back draft class in recent memory. Again, another guy that came out of this draft class was Alvin Kamara, but I did not scout him in my top 4. These were the only 4 guys I did scout that year, and this was the ranking. In 2018, here was my ranking. And again, some hits, some misses. You see, number 1 was Saquon Barkley. He was everybody's number 1. I had Ronald Jones at 2, Nick Chubb at 3, Rashad Penny at 4, Kerryon Johnson at 5, Bo Scarborough at 6, and Royce Freeman at 7. Again, a few hits and misses here. One guy I wish I could say I had higher was Nick Chubb. I wish I had him at probably 2. I still think Saquon Barkley is the most talented guy coming out of the draft, probably still the best prospect coming out of that draft. I would argue for that up and down the alleyway. There's no doubt in my mind that he was the best prospect. But again, his NFL career right now looking a little shaky with injuries. Ronald Jones at 2. I mean, that was probably wrong. Nick Chubb should have probably been 2 looking back at it. But again, a few hits, a few misses. I was a big fan of Bo Scarborough all the way down here at 6. I liked him, the size of him, the speed that he had. Never really panned out. And Kerryon Johnson was another guy. I had him at 5. 2019, this was one of my better ones, I would say for sure. Josh Jacobs at 1. I believe he is a true 1. Miles Sanders at 2. I believe he is a true 2. Damien Harris at 3 and David Montgomery at 4. I would probably like to swap those 2 if I could ever go back and change it around. That's what I would do. I think David Montgomery probably deserves to be 3. Harris deserves to be 4. And Bryce Love is at 5. Last but not least, the 2020 NFL Draft. Here's my last year's rankings. Jonathan Taylor at 1. I love this kid coming out. Big fan of his. I still think he's on track to be the number 1 guy. DeAndre Swift was my number 2. Again, big fan of this guy. Very shifty. Probably the most shifty running back in their class. Not the fastest like Taylor, but it was definitely shifty. Cam Akers was my 3rd. Love Cam Akers. Again, another fast guy. I was cheering for the Rams to start him all year long. Finally, at the end of the year, they did. Kind of hurt my fantasy team because I drafted him with high expectations, but turned out that he came onto the scenes late, and he looked good when he was in, so I'm still excited about him. J.K. Dobbins was my number 4 guy. I like what I saw from J.K. Dobbins, too. I'm excited to see what he can do. A.J. Dillon was at 5. Again, big, monstery guy. You looked at his legs. They looked like tree trunks. You got to respect what A.J. Dillon might bring to the future of the Packers. We'll have to wait to see what happens there. Number 6 was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I was huge, let's put it this way. I was very disappointed when the Chiefs took him in the 1st round. I did not think that he deserved to be the 1st round pick, especially the number 1 running back taken off the board, but he does fit the Chiefs system the best. And again, something I want to point out very clear. Hey, everyone, listen to this part of the video. This is very important. Fits mean a lot for running backs. If you don't fit the team's fit, you're never going to pan out, okay? So Clyde Edwards-Helaire fits that system. I still don't think he was the most talented guy, but he fits the Kansas City Chiefs. So he might work out there. We'll have to wait and see. And last but not least was Zach Moss. He was my number 7 guy, was my least favorite guy out of those 7. Okay, so here's my grading scale. This is what I graded. This is 2 years in a row now. I'm using the same scale. I wanted to change a few things around, but this is actually what I grade for my grading scale. In-game speed, what do they look like in-game? Their trucking ability, if they're able to run people over, their fight. And this is something I do for every position. So this is something huge in my opinion. Are they willing to fight for extra yards? I love this grade. This grade is huge in my opinion. Are they willing to fight for extra yards, pound that guy over, rather than run out of bounds? Are they willing to take the extra hit? Not always the smartest move, but I want to see that they want that extra yard. Agility, right? Everyone knows what agility is. Catching and their vision. Okay, and this is my grading after complete scouting process. I did watch their combines. I watched their pro days. This is my final running back ranking. My number one guy here, and again, this is in no specific order. This is just going right down the list. And at the end of the video, I'll go over my rankings. But let's start off with Najee Harris. Okay, here are my notes that I got on him. He's a one-cut, big stiff arms, and do not let the big guy fool you. He can catch the football. His ability to find the hole in the red zone makes him a great goal line back. He breaks some arm tackles, but he is not a true big power back like many of us believe. He is more elusive than power, but can use stiff arms to break tackles. Okay, so those are my notes when I watch this guy play. He's a big guy. Everyone's expecting a big power back. Najee Harris is not a big power back. He's more of a one-cut, I'm going to use a stiff arm, get around the outside. I can go east-west if I choose to kind of a guy. I'll throw him in a category at the end of the video. But here are his strengths, his attitude. I love his attitude, okay? He has a great personality. He wants to work and get better constantly. He finds holes quickly. He's able to find the hole and execute immediately. I love that in a running back. He's a great red zone back. This guy is able to find the red zone consistently. You put him in at the 1 yard line, he has great vision to be able to find the end zone. So I love him in the red zone. Great stiff arms, like I mentioned before. He's extremely athletic. I mean, this guy can juke. This guy can truck. This guy can hurdle over somebody. It's incredible what this guy can do. And his catching is phenomenal as well. I mean, a lot of people want to knock him for his catching. Go back and watch his film from when he was very young to now. It has improved drastically. His weaknesses are these. His agility is not the greatest. And again, he's agile. He can juke. He can do this and that and the other thing. But he's not great at it, right? This is much more of a guy that can bounce to the outside using his speed and then use a stiff arm rather than juke somebody out of their shoes. So agility is a little bit of a concern. He's not going to bounce around and juke people out of their shoes, but he's able to create a little bit of space with his agility. So that is one of his weaknesses. In trucking, again, can he run people over? At times, but he's not a trucker. He's not somebody that's going to be running people over like crazy. He is more of a guy that can get to the outside, use a powerful stiff arm, and keep running. So that's Najee Harris's strengths and weaknesses. Here's his in-depth breakdown. So I gave him a grade in each category, just like I did with the quarterbacks, and here are the grades. His power grade earned a 58%. That means he had earned 58% of the possible points I grade him on. His elusive grade was a 67%. Again, that's 67% of points of what I grade him on. His receiving grade was an 83. His physical grade was an 83. And his IQ toughness grade was a 75. Now, I want to go back real fast. His running back grade is a 74. And that's not bad. That means he scores 74% of the possible points capable of being earned. That's pretty good. That doesn't mean, don't forget about Madden ratings. Everyone wants to think Madden, 74 is not good. 60 is not good. This is 74 of the possible points earned on my scale. That's a very nice score to have. So again, here's his in-depth breakdown. And last but not least, here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to hit pause, record it, take a picture, look at these ratings. I'm not going to be going over all these, but here is his in-depth breakdown on the categories I did grade him on. The next guy is Travis Etienne. He also earned a 74 as his grade. All right, here are my notes on Travis Etienne. His hesitation, one cut, then pop is what this kid is all about. He bursts through holes after finding his lane and is absolutely explosive. Not going to break a ton of tackles, but has great balance, good hands as well. This guy is a big play guy. Okay, so hopefully that clears up a few things for you. This guy can pop at any given time, but let's go over his strengths and weaknesses. Great vision. He may have one of the best visions I've seen in this draft class. He's able to find the holes and absolutely pop for big gains. Great hands. This guy can catch. He's a good route runner, right? We saw him a lot in Clemson. Take the check down and burst. His burst of speed helps him be extremely explosive with his hands. So sometimes there's a check down, you'll see his burst of speed, which makes him extremely explosive. Okay, so all three of those kind of correlate with one another. He can use all three of them to hurt you. He has great balance. I've seen this guy get hit before and stay on his feet and keep going, low center of gravity. And last but not least, this guy's an absolute playmaker. Get him the ball any way you can, and he's going to make you happy. His weaknesses, breaking tackles. If they do a good form tackle, this guy's not going anywhere. He's going to most likely go down, and he's not a trucker. I mean, again, these weaknesses sometimes I list are just stupid because he's not a power back, right? Everyone knows this, but you got to list it. So one thing I want to point out is someone's running back grade might be extremely high or extremely low. It just means that they check all the boxes, right? If you're average at everything, you're going to have a higher grade than someone that's really good at one thing and below average at something else. So the grade scale is a little biased. Let me tell you guys that now. It is a little biased, so that's why I'm going to do my personal analysis at the end, so stay tuned. Here's the in-depth breakdown for Travis Etienne. Again, power grades at 33, elusive grades at 75, receiving grades at 92, physical grades at 92, and his IQ toughness grades at 75. Here's his breakdown. Again, you can hit pause, look at this as much as you would like to do. Here's Javonte Williams. He also, this time he got a 69. So it goes from 74 right down to 69. So you see a tier, definitely there's a tier gap there, right? Between the top guys and then the next level. Here are my notes on Javonte Williams. Bruiser. Use him between the tackles. Fights for extra yards, has good hands from the few catches I saw, and seems to have decent speed. Burst of speed, but not super fast. Kid is a bruiser and a workhorse. This is a guy that carried a lot of the workload in college. And he also had Michael Carter with him, but this guy's an absolute bruiser, like I mentioned, right? So he took a lot of hits in college, and now you got to start considering the concern of running backs not lasting long in the NFL. Had a crazy college career. Again, if you're a bruiser and a workhorse in college, that might hurt you later on when you're in your third, fourth year in the NFL. Can you consistently be a bruiser and be a workhorse without getting injured? This guy fights for every yard. He fights, man. This guy is an absolute fighter, and that's something I love. He has pretty decent catching. I mean, from the catches I saw, like I said, he looked like he could catch a ball, and he has a great burst of speed. I mean, this guy can explode out of nowhere and show you that burst. But the weakness is his breakaway speed. I mean, this guy did run a 4.55. He's not going to just break away. He has a good burst right out of nowhere. Sometimes he can explode, but that breakaway speed, no. People are going to chase him down at 4.55. And his agility is not the greatest. Again, this guy's best used in between the tackles. I'm going to run you over or make it very hard for you to tackle me. That's what Javonte Williams brings to the table. His in-depth breakdown. His power grade earned a 75. His elusive grade earned a 58. Receiving grade earned a 67. Physical grade earned a 75. And his IQ toughness grade is a 71. Power grade. One thing I want to mention about this is he earned a 75. And I just told you how good of a power guy he is, right? So 75 is pretty good if you earn 75 with 100 points allotted, right? So that means that that's what I'm saying. When you look at this, you might be like, oh, 58. 58's not bad. I mean, it's not great compared to some of the other guys, but a 75 is pretty damn good for a power grade on my scale. And here's his breakdown again. You hit pause, look at this however you wanted to break him down specifically. The next guy is Kenneth Gainwell. He got a 69. Look, Kenneth Gainwell's notes are, he is what I think he is. I said right away, this kid is a receiver who can also play the running back position. It makes him extremely valuable as a receiving back, but not as valuable as a workhorse. Very explosive and uses a nasty spin move. Do not underestimate his spin move. Look, when I watched Kenneth Gainwell, this guy was a really good receiving back. But again, some things concern me about this guy. One of them being just his running ability. Right? He has great vision. He has pretty dang good speed on film. He's really good receiver. He has a nasty spin move, but can he manage to do something like Christian McCaffrey did that I wasn't expecting them to do, right? Can he be a workhorse in the NFL? And that I don't think that he can be. And that's just my honest opinion. This guy's going to be a great receiving back with really good speed. He has good vision, has a nasty spin move, but can he be a workhorse? And I'm going to say no. His weaknesses are trucking, fighting for extra yards, and I don't believe that he's a workhorse right now. Again, these things are some things. Fighting for extra yards and being a workhorse are two things that I see are very valuable in a running back. So can he be a good receiving back? Absolutely. We've seen Antonio Gibson and Christian McCaffrey turn out to be pretty good running backs in the NFL. Could Kenneth Gainwell be the next one? We'll have to wait and see. But my personal analysis will be at the end of this video. In-depth breakdown, here you go. 33 for his power, 67 for his elusiveness, 100 for his receiving, 92 for his physicals, and 63 for his IQ and toughness. Here's his breakdown. Again, do whatever you want to do with this. And here's the next guy, Elijah Mitchell. Now, this guy, I'm going to say something right now. This is my guy. If there's any guy that is a sleeper that anyone's sleeping on that I can say that's my guy that bursted on the scene that nobody's talking about that I truly like, it's this kid named Elijah Mitchell. And here are my notes. This kid runs hard, breaks tackles, makes some people miss, and picks up some of the of the tough yards, right? Picks up some of the tough yards. I think this one could be one of my many sleepers. There's a lot of sleepers in this year's draft, ladies and gentlemen. Just get used to it. My rankings at the end are going to be really interesting, and this could be one of them. He has incredible speed and ran a 4.32 40. That just shows you how fast this guy is. He may be, if he's a starter in the NFL, the fastest starting running back based on the 40 time in the NFL right now. This dude can break tackles. He fights for extra yards. He has great vision. He's really agile. His only weakness is his catching. I didn't see him catch a lot of balls in college, and it's kind of concerning. What I did see wasn't bad, but I want to see more. So that puts a concern. That puts a little red flag at his catching. Can he be an all-around back? Well, now that's in question. His in-depth breakdown, here you go. His power grades is 67. His elusive grades is 67 as well. His receiving grades is 50. His physicals is a 92. And his IQ toughness grades is 71. Now, look, when I watched him on film, he seemed fast, but he didn't seem 4.32 fast. So his physical grades, which is really speed, right? Those things, that's why it's a 92 and not 100, right? An A+ would earn you 100. I didn't think that he's a 4.32 speed in game film, but he's very fast. Here's his breakdown. So here you go again. You look at his small breakdown that I have for you. Do whatever you want with it. And here we go. Here's my next guy in Javian Hawkins. Last guy I scouted. Didn't make my big board at first. Nobody's talking about this guy. Literally just watched him not too long ago. And he earns this spot on my grade scale, which is a 69 as well. Look, here's what I wrote about Javian Hawkins. Phenomenal vision with good agility. Willing to fight for extra yards and try to run through defenders at times. The main issue with Hawkins is he gets tackled for a loss a lot. Could have been a result of his bad blocking, can be very explosive. So again, he got tackled for a loss a lot, and I don't like seeing that. And it was some bad blocking. But again, I've seen running backs take bad blocking and just turn it into no loss, no gain, get back to the line of scrimmage. Javian Hawkins, not so much, right? This guy can, he has great vision, as I mentioned, very explosive. When he finds that hole, and I'll mention something a little bit later, but he's very explosive. He can break tackles. He fights for extra yards. And like I said, he waits to find openings. His explosiveness is his hesitation almost in a way. He waits to find the opening, finds it, uses agility to find it, and then he's explosive. So this guy is pretty talented in that aspect. His weaknesses are his catching ability. Doesn't have a lot of catches to show for in college. He doesn't run people over with trucking, and he waits to find openings. Also a weakness, right? It can be a strength, but it's also a weakness. Sometimes his hesitation is what makes him lose yards. So rather than getting back to the line of scrimmage, sometimes his hesitation is making him lose yards. I hate running backs that lose yards. I think this guy has a lot of potential, but just needs to understand that 0 yards is better than -2. Take what the defense gives you and take those 1 to 2 yards rather than a loss of 3, loss of 4. Here's his in-depth breakdown. He earned a 50 power grade, a 75 elusive grade, a 50 receiving grade, an 83 physicals grade, and a 79 IQ and toughness grade. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to hit pause and look at this. And here we go with Pooka Williams. Pooka Williams, an interesting guy, also earns a 69 on my grade. Look, he weighs 170. I'm going to point that out right away. Okay? And that's a weakness. Okay? But that's nothing I grade. So that's why he earned a high grade. But it is a concern for sure. So let me read what I got about Pooka Williams. This kid is special, but keyword is utility back. He's a Swiss Army knife. He can run fast, make quick shifts, and catch great out of the backfield. He is another player that reminds me of Curtis Samuel. Only concern is his carrying and his weight. I did not want him to get hurt being so light, and carrying the ball could also be an issue because of his lack of size. Right, so his strengths are his speed. He runs a 4.38 40. That's phenomenal. He's very shifty. He has great agility. He is pretty damn good at catching the football, right? He's a Swiss Army knife. He has pretty damn good vision. And there you go again, that word I'm using here. He's a Swiss Army knife. His weaknesses are his size and his trucking. Again, here's what I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen that are watching this video today. A running back's not going to check off all the boxes, right? One guy that's very agile is not going to be able to run people over all the time. That doesn't mean that they're a bad running back. It just means that they specialize in one category. And honestly, there's a lot of great running backs in the NFL that specialize in one category. I mean, Saquon Barkley is more of an elusive guy. He's not really running people over like Derrick Henry is, but he's more of an elusive running back in Saquon Barkley. Derrick Henry's more of a power guy. So Pooka Williams is that shifty guy. He's not going to be trucking people over at 170. But now, is that really a weakness? No. It's just the kind of running back he is. In-depth breakdown, here you go. He earns a 42% power grade, a 75 elusive grade, 83 receiving grade, 92 physical grade, and a 63 IQ and toughness grade. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to hit pause and look at this if you choose to. Here's my next guy in Kylin Hill, who earned a 68. Look, Kylin Hill, this guy, I mean, he's pretty damn good size-wise, right? I kind of like him. I mean, his height and weight, he looks pretty good. But here we go. This kid has good vision and is able to power his way through tough situations. He's another running back that can do a little bit of everything. He can be special because of his ability of being able to do a little bit of everything, okay? So, I mean, that's just kind of a repeat, but that's what it is. His strengths, he can catch the ball, he fights for extra yards, he has great vision, and he's agile. His weaknesses are his trucking and his breakaway speed. He ran a 4.57 40, which is highly concerning. He looked faster than that on film, not extremely fast, but what makes this guy so good is he has the size that Pooka Williams lacks, and he's able to catch. He's able to fight for extra yards. He has good vision, and he is agile. So he can do a little bit of everything, but he has that size. The issue between him and Pooka is he's a lot slower, and the 4.57 speed is one of the slower running backs coming out of this draft. His in-depth breakdown, here you go. He earned a 50 power grade, 67 elusive grade, 75 receiving grade, 75 physical grade, and a 71 IQ and toughness grade. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to hit pause, again, as usual. And here we go with the next running back in CJ Verdell. When I first watched this kid, I'm going to tell you a little bit of story. I was hyped. I was like, holy crap. I had to call up one of my friends and say, this guy is pretty damn good. I mean, he was ranked like the 280th, 250th prospect, and I found this guy. This was the first guy that I found that was low on everyone's board that I thought that was pretty damn good. And here are my notes. This kid was shockingly good at every single category I grade. He was at first a potential top-rated running back on my scale, but then I had to go in and make a few adjustments after I watched a little bit more film. Verdell could be that guy that is drafted late but can be an impact maker. This guy can run people over, catch out of the backfield, and create space. This kid could be a huge sleeper. His strengths, here we go: catching, creating space, breaking tackles, trucking, fights for extra yards, and his vision. His weakness is his breakaway speed, right? He doesn't have that breakaway speed that you want to see in a running back. So that's a little bit of a concern. But again, you want to talk about a guy that can do everything? CJ Verdell is just that guy. I mean, for the love of God, has there been a guy yet that I had trucking, catching, creating space, and vision And fighting for extra yards, not really. So on the next few slides, you're going to see how I graded him. But again, only a 67 here on my grading scale. His power grade was a 67, elusive grade is a 58, receiving grade is a 67, and physical grade is a 75, and his IQ and toughness grade is a 67. Here you go, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit. So here's a guy that I'm talking about that earned pretty good grades everywhere, right? You don't see anything lower than a B minus, but that kind of hurts him in some areas, and that kind of helps him in some areas, right? So he's not crazily great at anything. He's not going to run everybody over. He's not going to fight for, a B fight for extra yards is pretty damn good. His B minus agility is okay. His B catching is pretty damn solid, and his B vision is not bad either. But this makes him a mediocre at everything, not special in any area. So this is a guy that has everything to work with, but not special in really anything specific. My next guy is Chris Evans. And again, another guy that I was a huge fan of this guy when I watched him on film. The issue is his limited snaps played because of potential off-field issues, maybe a suspension. I further looked into this, and I'll tell you what it was. Here are my notes. This kid is special, but there's something wrong. Off-field issues, maybe. It turned out to actually being an academic mistake. So that's what it was noted down as by the scouts. I don't really know what they mean by that, but yeah, I'm not too sure. He plays for Michigan. They actually completely suspended him. He was not even enrolled in the school for a while. I really don't know what happened, but anyway, long story short, this kid has great agility, great juking, fast, and can catch. Just has limited carries and limited years played, I believe due to suspension. He is a great runner in open space going east-west. Not a bruiser, but great elusiveness. Can do a little bit of everything. Again, another guy that can do a little bit of everything, but he's not a bruiser. So he has good speed in-game film. I don't think he ran a great 40, but he had in-game, he looked fast. Fights for extra yards. Has good agility, good vision, and good catching. Again, here were his weaknesses. You saw all of them, and all of his weaknesses really are off-field issues / not playing enough snaps because of those academic mistake that he made, whatever it may be. His in-depth breakdown, here you go. So he earned a 33 power grade, a 75 elusive grade, a 58 receiving grade, a 92 physical grade, and a 71 IQ and toughness grade. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to hit pause, go watch it, whatever you want to do. Here we go. Michael Carter, running back, earned a 65 grade. This is a guy that's kind of was a little bit lower on my board than most people have him for my grade scale, right? This has nothing to do with my personal rankings. Again, I want you to stay tuned till the end to see that. This kid has really good vision, finds the opening, and goes. He is not going to wow you with his broken tackles, but he's a straight-up find the hole and go kind of a runner. He can stretch the field east, west, or north, south. He is not a real bouncy guy behind the line of scrimmage. He usually gains positive yards, but he's not able to break many tackles while doing so. He has solid hands and makes people miss an open field with his quick little sidestep. Solid bet with a good hand. I want to see his 40 time. Well, I saw his 40 time. Again, I watched his in-game film before I watched his 40. 4.5 is not really nothing special. So if he ran really fast, this guy would definitely be higher on my board. So we look here at his strengths and his weaknesses again. His vision is absolutely phenomenal. That's why I wrote it. He has really good catching. He's very agile. He finds an open hole and attacks and does not dance behind the line of scrimmage. He's not like Saquon Barkley, someone that dances and tries to get pretty behind the line of scrimmage, can gain 50 yards, but then can also lose 3 yards. He's a guy that's going to almost gain you yards every single time you hand him the ball, which I love. That's something I really like about Michael Carter. And again, don't let this get lost up. Even in my rankings at the end, this is a guy that can be a phenomenal running back because he does everything I like in a running back. His weaknesses, breakaway speed. He ran a 4.5. His trucking, and in game too, he didn't really had a lot of breakaway speed. His trucking, he doesn't have that great trucking. He can't run over people, and he doesn't really fight for extra yards. Again, when he gets touched, he usually goes down where he gets touched. In-depth breakdown. His power grade is a 42. His elusive grade is a 67. His receiving grade is a 75. His physical grade is a 75. And his IQ and toughness grade is a 67. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to hit pause again. Do whatever you want to do. But here's a perfect example of a guy that got a really good vision, phenomenal vision compared to most people, really high on catching, right? Pretty dang good agility. And then one or two things is really lowering his score. So if you're just looking for a running back that's really good at finding holes, exploding through holes, Really good receiving back, not breakaway speed, but can find the hole and go and uses agility a little bit. This may be your guy. The issue is that on my scale, I grade all these things. So one thing to really sway that grade down. Again, I'm looking for running backs that can do a little bit of everything, and that's where I'll go to at the end of my analysis. Jaret Patterson. All right, here's another one of my guys. This is a kid low on a lot of people's boards that I fell in love with when I watched him. He earned only a 65 grade. Again, that's my grade scale. It's not always accurate, in my opinion. I graded him a lot differently than this, but we'll talk about him. Here are my notes. This kid is good. Some things that I do not grade, this kid has. He blocks great. Yeah, this running back blocks great. He is a four-short team player and has the ability to fight for extra yards. He had 19 touchdowns rushing back-to-back years. In 2020, 19 touchdowns in only 6 games. He would be graded much higher if I saw him catch the ball. Unfortunately, he does not seem to have many receptions on his resume. The fight, the blocking, the popping ability, and the way he finds the end zone, I honestly think he could be one of the best backs in this draft. Here are his strengths. He fights for extra yards. He's agile. He has great vision. His ability to find the end zone is phenomenal. Able to pop for bigger runs, and great blocker. I mean, I know that might sound crazy, but that's what he is. He can block for the quarterback. If you hand it off to another running back, he can come around. So you got a running back here, and he's over here, and he's a lead blocker coming around the side. He can hit a nice block on the linebacker, go second level, or sweep and help the tight end on the defensive end. Jaret Patterson is a really good teammate, and his weaknesses are his trucking and his catching. Again, trucking, this guy's not really a trucking back. He fights for extra yards, but he's not running people over. And his catching, well, that's a little bit of a concern now, right? In today's NFL, a lot of people have got to be able to catch the football. Here's his in-depth breakdown. 33 for his power, 75 for his elusive grade, 42 for his receiving grade, 83 for his physicals, and a 79 for his IQ and toughness. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to hit pause, do whatever you want to do. Again, has pretty damn good speed. And this is a guy, I just want to go back again to what I've been saying. Pretty dang good speed, has phenomenal fight, phenomenal agility, and great vision. You think that would earn a really high grade, but not being able to catch and truck lowers his grade down. So he's not an all-around back, right? He can't run people over and catch, but this guy, for a pure elusive back, a guy that can fight for extra yards and be a real team player, yeah, that's Jaret Patterson, and I highly recommend drafting this guy within the top, I would say 3-4 rounds, 4 rounds being the latest. Here's the next guy, Demetric Felton. Okay, here are my notes. This kid reminds me of Curtis Samuel. He is a receiving back who is going to catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. Will he ever be a starting running back? That is a good question. As I would say, as of now, no. But he is a playmaker. Look, I named a lot of guys Curtis Samuel because that was the guy that I just like to compare to this year. Any receiving back that came out of the backfield, and especially that wears number 10, it just reminded me of Curtis Samuel coming out of the backfield, making catches. Here's his strengths. He's a playmaker. He's good catching. He has pretty damn good agility, and he has good vision. His weaknesses are his trucking, his fighting ability for fighting for extra yards, and I don't believe he's a workhorse. Again, I put that at question, and that concerns me for being an actual running back in the NFL. Again, we've seen people like Antonio Gibson pan out, but will Demetric Felton? And I don't know if that's going to be true. Here's his in-depth breakdown. 33% for his power grade, 75 for his elusive, 92 receiving, 75 physical, and 58 toughness / IQ. Here's his thing. You're more than welcome to hit pause and look at it. One thing I want to point out to you is he's not the fastest. He can't truck. He doesn't really fight for extra yards. But what he does exceptionally well is he's a really good catcher. He has great agility and pretty dang good vision. This is absolutely, in my opinion, what I would consider a receiving back. Someone that doesn't really break a bunch of tackles, trucking-wise or fighting-wise, has good agility to juke somebody out of their shoes, right, and not extremely fast, but has that ability to catch and has great vision. This guy could probably line up as a running back, line up wide as a receiver. He could be a little fancy like a Curtis Samuel. My next guy is Chuba Hubbard. And right away I'm going to say, just here it is. Chuba Hubbard. When I watch film on him, pops a lot of runs, but I don't see him hitting a lot of the other categories because of how many runs he pops. So this guy's extremely explosive. Okay, and let me read this. This kid is fast and very explosive. While watching film, I saw him fumble twice in a game, but there was no record of it on his stat track, which was weird to me. It was against West Virginia. This kid is super quick, maybe the fastest running back in football if he becomes a starter. Does not have a lot of film breaking tackles in the open field. He uses bursts of speed as his weapon. Needs to become more elusive and catch more balls to become a complete back. His speed is currently and his only weapon. Okay? Very fast, uses good vision, lacks almost in every other area. Now, can I say agility is a weakness? I don't know. I didn't see him really juke somebody out of their shoes or uses agility a lot because this is a guy that finds a hole and boom, he's off to the races. One more time. Finds a hole, poof, off to the races. And I mean, that's all you need in a game, right? You need a running back that can pop 1 or 2 big runs to win. I'm much more of a guy that I like a guy that can get me 3-4 yards a carry. Chuba Hubbard's a guy that's going to pop one. I didn't see him do a lot of breaking tackles and stuff because, again, this is a guy that can just pop for one every now and again. So we'll have to wait and see. This is a guy that I can actually say is a guy that I say question mark to. This is the only guy in this draft that I can say I can't get a good feel on him. I don't know if he has great agility. I don't know if he really breaks for extra yards, right? Fights for extra yards. I don't know because I haven't seen him do it enough. His catching, he doesn't have a lot of catches, and I didn't see him run anybody over. All these weaknesses, though, are kind of question marks. I haven't seen him do it because of his big play ability, and that's what he usually only does. Here's his in-depth breakdown. 33% for his power grade, 58 elusive grade, 67 receiving grade, 100 physical. I mean, this guy is the fastest guy probably in the draft in game. We saw the one guy run a 4.32 in Elijah Mitchell. I'm a big fan of Elijah Mitchell. I thought he was fast, but watching film, I had Chuba Hubbard ranked faster. And I'm going to go with my guts here and say that he's a faster running back. I don't think Chuba Hubbard did run a 40, though, so we don't have a exact measurement 40 time comparison. But just watching Hubbard, I do think he's faster. An IQ toughness grade of a 63. Here's what I graded him on. And again, you see a lot of question marks. I mean, question, really fast. I saw him pop a lot, but I don't know about all these other categories, to be honest with you. Another thing I didn't mention enough is he has pretty damn good vision. Speed with vision is a deadly explosive duo. Here we go, guys. We're getting to the back end of this. We're almost done. I promise you. We're almost done. I know this is long. Here we go. Rhamondre Stevenson. I gave him a 63. I watched this guy. As soon as I turned on film, I said, this guy reminds me of somebody. I'm going to hop right into it. This kid is a big back. Reminds me of a LeGarrette Blount body type. And I did the research. He is a LeGarrette Blount body type. I mean, this guy is identical height, weight-wise, almost to LeGarrette Blount. There's not a ton of film to study, but he is quick being as big as he is, right? So he's a quick guy. He's not fast, but he is quick. Compared to his size, you're not used to seeing guys move as quick as he does. That's something that he does well. He has a nasty stiff arm and tough to tackle. He is great in the red zone, and he does not drop many balls. This guy runs with pure power, but can also at times bounce to the outside. I think this kid has a lot of potential and does not lack much of what I grade these kids on. One thing I noticed is he gains yards with almost every yard. Very minimal loss of yards, but he does a great job with a little of everything. All right, I want to point that out again. That's something I love. And again, I'm not going to have him graded that high when we do my personal rankings. But here we go. I'm telling you right now, listen to this. If you're really listening, you'll hear me say it. This kid has everything you could possibly want to be a great running back. He's a big guy, doesn't have breakaway speed, right? He ran a 4.63. That might have been the slowest 40 time for all the running backs, right? But he's a big guy with a nasty stiff arm that can catch a little bit out of the backfield. And my biggest thing is he constantly gains yards. Well, let's start with this. He fights for extra yards. He constantly gains yards, and he does not lose yards. Okay, let me say that again. He fights for extra yards. He constantly gains yards, and he does not lose yards. Well, are you really losing with this guy being your running back? And that answer is no, right? This guy can positively always gain you positive yards. right? Constantly. He has ability to go east-west, which was surprising to me. He's north-south runner, but he can bounce to the outside. He doesn't have that breakaway speed, but he can bounce out there and pick up a few yards with his nasty stiff arm. His weaknesses are his agility and his breakaway speed running a 4.63, and in film, he didn't look that fast either. Here's his in-depth breakdown. Power grades of 67, elusive grades of 58, his receiving grades of 50, physical grades of 67, and his IQ toughness grades of 67 as well. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome to take a pause, do whatever you got to do, and look at it yourself. Here's Khalil Herbert. All right, 63 is his grade. Strengths. Before I get into this, let me read about him. This kid is a guy that can be very explosive. He can pop for big runs, but I'm not willing to say that he is an every down back. He does not pick up positive yards on every run, and he needs room to operate. If there's a hole, he will find it and pop for a big run. Okay, so there you go. What do I mean by that? He has vision to find the hole, and then with his speed, he has the ability to pop for big runs. That's basically all that. So he has a burst of speed. He uses speed. He finds a hole, and he breaks for big runs. His weaknesses are he does lose yards a lot, right, trying to be fancy in the backfield. He doesn't really catch that much, doesn't truck, doesn't really fight for extra yards. He needs a hole because he can't create space. Here's his in-depth breakdown: 33 for his power grade, 67 for his elusive, 50 for his receiving, 92 for his physicals, and 67 for his IQ and toughness. Here's his breakdown. You're more than welcome again to hit pause and look at this. And here we go, Trey Sermon. Now, you guys are probably like, what? How? This guy's a top 3, top 5 running back on most people's big boards. Guys, I wish I could tell you how he was this low on my board. I don't know. On my grade scale, I don't know. When I watched film, I just was not impressed. And I have no bias-y at all. I have no bias-y. I don't even watch college football. I don't have a favorite team. Okay? I scout these guys when they declare for the draft. Okay? So Trey Sermon, this kid has a large frame. One of my least favorite players that I watched to this point. And I'm done scouting. So this is it. Doesn't use his size as a weapon. Does not make people miss. Does not break tackles. He does not catch the ball often. All right. So his strength is his large frame and average at everything. His weakness is his catching. Here's his grading: 58 for power, 58 for elusive, 50 for receiving, 75 for physicals, and 63 for IQ and toughness. Here he is. Here's his grades. You don't look at him. Tell me where I'm wrong. I don't know where I'm wrong. This is where he ranked. I don't know why he's as low as he is, but he is. Here's my second to last guy, guys, I promise. And then I'll go into categories, do my personal analysis, and compare him to the 2020 guys. Jermar Jefferson. This kid is a north-south explosive runner. Does he run people over? No, but he is able to break arm tackles. One thing I noticed was a lack of balance. He gets tripped up too much. Jermar Jefferson is an explosive runner who fights for extra yards. His weaknesses is his agility, his catching, and his lack of balance. Again, this guy gets tripped up way too much. In-depth breakdown, he had a 58 power grade, 50 elusive grade, 50 receiving grade, 75 physical grade, and a 67 IQ and toughness grade. There's his stuff. If you want to look at it, you're more than welcome to. And here's the last guy on my board, which is Larry Rountree from Mizzou. This kid is good at protecting the football and breaks a decent amount of tackles, has good speed in open space, just do not see much of anything else. So when I'm saying that he protects the football and he's decent at breaking tackles as his 2 strength, that's concerning. His weaknesses are trucking, catching, his breakaway speed. Again, you're in a 4.62, which is not good, right? That's almost as low as Rhamondre Stevenson, who's a bigger guy. So Larry Rountree really kind of disappointed me here. Power grade was a 50, elusive grade was a 58, receiving grade was a 50, physical grade was a 67, his IQ toughness grade was a 58. Here's the stuff. You're more than welcome to look at it if you disagree with me. All right, here we go. We're into the tiers. Here are the categories. I break everyone up to categories. Again, if this is what your team needs, this is what you want to do. So tier 1 categories. These are guys, again, just because you're in tier 3 or tier 2 or tier 1 does not mean that you're a better back. I'll get to my personal analysis when I'm done. This just means that you fit the name. Okay, so tier 1 is just a bruiser. You're just a bruiser. In my opinion, 2 guys fit on my grade scale, the bruiser definition. And that was Rhamondre Stevenson, who I consider a power back, and CJ Verdell, who I said was an everything back. Now, CJ Verdell, again, now you might say, why is he a bruiser if he can do a little bit of everything? He didn't meet the thresholds on my scale to be considered an everything or all-around back, okay? But he did meet the threshold of a bruiser. So this was the only threshold that he was possibly capable of meeting, was my bruiser threshold. Rhamondre Stevenson doesn't do much of everything else, right? So we kind of know that he's a bruiser, and that's why he was a tier 1 category under the bruiser name. Tier 1 again. This one's the elusive tier 1. You're just an elusive back. And that's Chris Evans. And again, he can do a little bit of everything, like I said before, but he doesn't meet the thresholds of anything else besides my elusive category. So Chris Evans would be considered an elusive back in my category scale. But again, I do say in my notes that he can do a little bit of everything. Here we go, tier 1 again. Physical specimen. This means that you are fast as hell. But again, since it's tier 1, that's all that you have to offer. And for my two guys, it was Chuba Hubbard and Khalil Herbert. Chuba Hubbard's a one-cut explosive kind of a guy. Khalil Herbert's also a one-cut explosive kind of a guy. These are guys that can make that one cut, right? Boom, make that cut, off to the races. One cut, off to the races, pop and go. And that means that they fit my physical specimen thing, which is still only a tier 1 category in my opinion. Here's tier 2. Here's where we get to tier 2. And this is the bruiser and workhorse category. There's two guys that fit this category that meet the thresholds. And that was Javonte Williams, who I consider a pure power back. Okay. And Elijah Mitchell, who I consider a one-cut power. And again, Elijah Mitchell hit a lot of other, he's pretty good in a lot of other categories, but he fit this one threshold. So that's why he's considered a bruiser and workhorse. And just to let you guys know, they only fit one category. So they get the better of the two. So if someone's just a bruiser, then they're going to go just bruiser. If someone's a bruiser and workhorse, they're not going to be on a bruiser tier 1 thing. They're just going to be listed here. So that's why Javonte Williams, yeah, he's a bruiser, but he's also a workhorse. So that's why he was listed here and not on the other one. Same thing with Mitchell. These guys are a step up category-wise than the other guys. They have something else to offer in that they're also a workhorse. Here's the elusive and workhorse category. It's also a tier 2 category. Here are Jaret Patterson, who's a one-cut elusive guy. Again, I haven't talked about this yet. I talked about one-cut explosive. That's a guy that can find that hole and then go. One-cut elusive is, hey, I'm going to make that one cut, right, to find that hole. And then I might have to do a little bit of just shaking and dancing too to find a little bit of more room, right? Doesn't really have the acceleration or the speed to really explode, but he can be elusive, right? He's really, really shaky, and he can use his agility to hurt you. And Javian Hawkins is another guy that fits this mold. Two guys that I'm really huge fans of. He's an elusive and explosive guy, but he fits that elusive and workhorse guy. These are guys I think that can be every down backs in the NFL. They get that workhorse thing. Hawkins is elusive first, right? Which means that he likes to bounce around the outside, right? But then he's explosive. So he's a guy that's more like a Saquon Barkley. And again, I'm not comparing him to Saquon in talent. I'm just saying that kind of a style runner, right? He likes to bounce around the outside and find a hole and then go, right? Then he can explode. Now we got the tier 2 category that's called elusive and receiver. And that's Demetric Felton and Pooka Williams. Demetric Felton I had listed as just a receiver, but he didn't meet the elusive threshold to be put in this tier 2 category. Pooka Williams, on the other hand, I said was a receiving and elusive running back, right? So that means that you can really catch first. You're a catch first guy, but then you can be a little elusive with it. So, right. So you might get a ball out of the backfield, right? You might run a flat right out here, right? Catch the ball, boom, shake somebody a little bit and go off to the races. That's what Pooka Williams gets. And these guys both get to elusive and receiver category. Now, again, I don't think that these guys are necessarily always every down backs, right? Especially with Pooka Williams' size and Demetric Felton's really just being a receiving back as I listed them. But could they be? Absolutely. We'll have to wait and see. I just don't consider them a workhorse or a really good running back. Here we go. This one is a receiver and physical specimen. And there's only one guy that really fits this mold, and it was Kenneth Gainwell. And this is another tier 2. This guy is a receiver first and elusive. Same thing that I just said about who was that before, Pooka Williams. Same thing. Can catch, be elusive with it, but his ability, his speed puts him on a little bit of a different level. In-game speed, I loved what I saw from Kenneth Gainwell, and that's what puts him under the receiver and physical specimen thing rather than the elusive receiver. He's a receiver with a physical specimen trait to him. He did not necessarily get the elusive trait that you would want it to see. And here's the last one, the final tier, tier 3, and there's only 2 guys that reach this. And that's all around. That means that you had to reach, I think it was like 3 or 4 of my categories, and you had to be graded higher than a 60, I think, in all 3 of those categories or more. And there's only 2 guys that fit that mold, and that was Najee Harris, who's a one cut, right? He makes that one cut, and then he's a little bit elusive. He's not really power. I mean, he uses a stiff arm, but he's more elusive, right? He has really good juking, actually, is Najee Harris. And Travis Etienne, who's more of an elusive guy first, right? Can find that hole, be elusive behind the line of scrimmage, right? And then he can also catch the hell out of the football. These 2 guys fit that only tier 3 build. That's the all-around running back build that could be every down running back in the NFL and can do a little bit of everything. And also, they meet the threshold. That's what I should say. All right, here are the running backs that belong to no category. Now, I want to point this out really fast. Just because they are not in a category does not mean they are not good, okay? I know that's a little wording, but just because you don't belong to a category, that means that you did not meet the threshold. So here we go. We got 3 different categories here. First, I got the interesting category. Michael Carter and Kylin Hill fit this category. Michael Carter is that one-cut elusive back that I've been talking about, right? That one cut and then can be a little dancy with that juke move. And Kylin Hill is considered an everything. And again, you can say, how is an everything guy considered nowhere in your categories? He just didn't meet the thresholds of any of the ones I put him at. He didn't meet the elusive one. He didn't meet the receiving one. He didn't meet the power one. He didn't meet the IQ and toughness one. He fit nowhere, but he can do a little bit of everything. So these 2 are not, these two do not meet the thresholds, right? That's what basically happens, but are deserved to be looked at, right? There are deserving to be looked at. I know I worded that a little wrong, a little wrong, a little choppy. I'm sorry about that, but these 2 definitely deserve to be looked at. These categories are just fun and games. They're nothing special. My rankings are going to be at the end very shortly. Understandable category, Trey Sermon, right? Here we go. He's a one-cut guy, right? Make one cut and just go. One of the most overrated prospects I have seen in a while. This is understandable that he belongs to no category. And that was my opinion. And last one are the ones that I figured. These 2 I figured wouldn't be in a category. Jermar Jefferson, who's a north-south explosive runner. That means he goes forward, straight ahead. He's not going to bounce east, west, side to side. He's going to go up straight and burst, right? And Larry Rountree is a one-cut guy, just like Trey Sermon. But these 2 guys I figured wouldn't fit in a category. I figured these 2 would not fit into a category. It made sense because I truly do not feel like they're that good. And that's just the honest truth. I know that might be harsh, but that's the truth. Here we go. My 2021 running back rankings. This is according to the scale. This is not my personal ranking yet. It's almost here, ladies and gentlemen. It's almost here. According to my grades, this is it. This is how they graded on my scale. Now, again, I want to point this out. This, by no means, is my rankings, okay? And if you just watched through all the video, you saw the grades. This is basically the grades over. This is right down the line. Harris, Etienne, Williams, Gainwell, Mitchell, Hawkins, Williams, Hill, Verdell, Evans, Carter, Patterson, Felton, Hubbard, Stevenson, Herbert, Jefferson, Sermon, Rountree. A few of these guys are tied, right? At like, for example, some of them might be tied at 57. Some of them might be tied at 69. If you want more in depth, go back and look at the slides. That's literally what I just showed you. 21-21 draft compared to the 2020 rankings via grades used in last year's scale. So I used last year's scale to grade the guys this year, and I ranked them. And according to the scale, this is how they panned out this year. And this, again, is not my personal rankings, but this is what it says. It says Najee would be 1, Travis Etienne would be 2, Taylor would be 3, Swift would be 4, Javonte Williams 5, Kenneth Gainwell 6, Cam Akers 7, Kylin Hill 8, Elijah Mitchell 9, and J.K. Dobbins 10. Here's a 2021 draft compared to 2020 rankings via personal analysis. Now, this is my personal opinion now. Now you're getting to my opinion. This is what I personally compare this draft class to last year's. I still got Harris and Etienne at 1-2. I think that they're the best running back coming out of the last 2 years. Even though I was at an absolute love with Taylor and I love Swift too, I do got these guys as more complete backs as Taylor and Swift. So Harris 1, Etienne 2, Taylor 3, Swift 4, Javonte Williams 5, Cam Akers 6, J.K. Dobbins 7, Elijah Mitchell 8, C.J. Verdell 9, and Kylin Hill 10. Okay, there's that. Here's my 2021 running back rankings personal analysis. This is it. We have reached towards the end of the video. I'm just going to pop in after this and talk to you personally and answer a few questions that you guys have for me. So my 2021 running back rankings via my personal analysis, this is what it is. Najee Harris 1, Etienne 2, Williams 3, Elijah Mitchell 4, Javian Hawkins 5, Kylin Hill 6, Jaret Patterson 7, Chris Evans 8, Kenneth Gainwell 9, C.J. Verdell 10, Pooka Williams 11, Michael Carter 12, Chuba Hubbard 13, Rhamondre Stevenson 14, Demetric Felton 15, Khalil Herbert 16, Trey Sermon 17, Jermar Jefferson 18, Larry Rountree 19. Before I head out to talk to you guys and ladies, I want to say this. This is my rankings. This is what it is. And I want to point out that it's so tough to rank running backs because you don't know where they're going to end up, and scheme fit means everything. Just because a guy is all around better does not necessarily mean that they're going to be the better running back as well. Okay? So when I rank him, it's hard to rank him. Do I rank him by who's an all-around back, or do I rank him by a guy that's a really good receiving back? What do I value more? I try to play it out the best I could in this ranking list to show you what I value the most to the least, and that's what I did. And lastly, if you argue with any of the things that I have, go back and show me my flaws. Show me what grades you actually disagree with. That's why I make it so in-depth, so you can literally say, I disagree with this grade, and then compare it to somebody. Say, well, you say this guy's an A, and this guy's actually faster, so why is he an A, and why is he a B plus speed-wise? You know, and you can argue that. So I'm going to be right back, and I'm going to answer some of your questions right now. All right, so I'm back. So here we go to sum up this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let's answer 2 questions I was asked by the viewers. And the first thing is, who are my sleepers? Who are the guys that no one's really talking about that I want to mention? I'm going to mention a few guys here, so bear with me. Just a few, and this is going to be a very quick section here. One of them is Elijah Mitchell. I'm a huge fan of Elijah Mitchell. That's one. Javian Hawkins is another one. He's getting slept on for sure. Kylin Hill, Jaret Patterson, and C.J. Verdell. Okay, so those are my 5 sleepers that I'm going to say that any of those could be the guy that falls a little bit and is an instant starter. Not maybe an instant starter, but he's going to become a starter because how good he is, right? These guys are, in my opinion, when I watch these guys' films, I was excited. And another question was, if you had to take 2 sleepers, who do you take? And I'm going to honestly say, there's 2 guys' films that stood out to me out of the sleepers. And one of them was Elijah Mitchell. I mean, again, I told you about this guy. This guy is absolutely, when I watch this guy, like I said, I'm looking at my notes here just to make sure I'm saying the right stuff, because I was absolutely awe-shocked with this guy. He runs extremely hard, right? He breaks tackles. He makes people miss. He picks up some of the tough yards that are tough to get, right? These are all things you got to do in the NFL. And he ran a 4.32. Yeah, that's fast. And I looked at that last. I looked at the pro days last. I saw the pure speed in game. I saw this guy breaking tackles. Usually a guy that breaks tackles, he's not the fastest. No, this guy's fast and he can break tackles. Watch out for Elijah Mitchell. And the other guy, just for some reason, I don't know what it is, he didn't get graded high at all on my list. It was the things that this guy did that weren't graded that I loved, and that's Jaret Patterson from Buffalo. And let me tell you something about Jaret Patterson. Again, I told you, this guy blocked. this guy was coming up. I'm telling you something. This guy, all right, let me tell you, he's a running back, right? Let's just say you got a running back here, okay? And I'm sorry, yeah, I'm not fully dressed, okay, in a suit outfit. And right now my tie's all messed up too. I didn't come fully prepared today. But let's just say you got somebody over here, okay? And he's another running back. So you got the quarterback, you're in the pistol formation, whatever you want to call it, okay? And I'm Jaret Patterson. I've seen him pull before and come around and hit the D end, or come all the way around and take out the outside linebacker to open up holes and to seal off the edge for the other running back. That's a team player. I've seen this guy pick up the defender from hitting his quarterback. Again, another team player. He's a great juker. This guy's had 19 touchdowns in the last two. I don't know what the hell's going on with my camera here. Let's see. There we go. But anyway, 19 touchdowns in the last 2 years. I mean, 19 and 19. Last year, he had 19 touchdowns in 2 games. These numbers are incredible. And it's not just numbers. I don't look at numbers. That's like the last thing I look at just to talk about somebody and to maybe tell you guys that might not know. He had 19 touchdowns, and the film shows the justice of it. This guy is good. So the 2 sleepers I would take, just if I'm running a franchise, because I'm going to make sure I build a system around them, would be Jaret Patterson's one guy, because this guy he's going to protect your quarterback. He's going to block if he has to, and he's going to pick up the tough yards. He has a nose for the red zone, and yeah, he can juke people out of their shoes. And the other guy is Elijah Mitchell. Fast as hell, can juke, goes through, breaks the tough tackles. I'm in love with both those guys, and when I'm going through my process, I'm surprised that they didn't rank higher. But again, some things that I see that I don't grade, I mean, that's what it is. So they might list lower down the list, but I'm still telling you now, I'm huge fans of those guys. As for my rankings, I mean, you saw where they're ranked. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. I'm done scouting running backs officially. I'm done scouting tight ends officially. I'm done scouting wide receivers officially. I just got to get the videos done, and right now I got no help. So I got to put the PowerPoints together, which take a long time if you guys haven't realized, and so on and so forth. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe. I got my wide receivers and tight ends coming soon. I'm scouting right now the offensive lineman and defensive lineman in this year's draft. It will all be done, I promise you. And I'm going to make sure we're doing our mock draft soon, too. So any questions about the draft, let me know in the comment section below. I would love to answer your questions there. See you guys soon. Peace. We are built better.